The Xerac boarding team stepped onto the human warship Valiant with quiet caution. Their weapons were drawn, eyes scanning every corner. The air inside the ship was cold, silent. Not a single sound echoed through the dark halls except the hum of distant power, barely alive. Commander Varn, the leader of the Xerac squad, looked around. He didn't like what he felt. The ship had been hit with a disabling pulse. Its engines were offline. There should have been panic, resistance, human soldiers trying to protect their ship. But instead, nothing. No footsteps, no voices, no sign of life. Varn clicked his communicator. Bridge secured. No human presence. Moving forward. His team of 8 Xerac moved carefully. The lights flickered above them. The walls were lined with strange, smooth panels. Some glowed faintly. They passed empty quarters, sealed lockers, and lifeless control stations. One of the soldiers opened a door, expecting someone inside. Empty. Another found a broken datapad. It still displayed a short message, Protocol V activated. Varn stared at it. "What is Protocol V?" he asked, more to himself than anyone else. His translator failed to decode the message. It was written in a different format, older than standard Earth language. As they continued deeper into the ship, something strange began to happen. Their scanners started giving false readings. First, they saw a heat signature down one hall, but when they ran toward it, nothing was there. Then another reading appeared behind them, gone in seconds. Motion sensors were useless. The ship was confusing them on purpose. The aliens didn't know that Valiant was not a normal human ship. It was a prototype, an experimental vessel equipped with Athena, a combat-grade AI designed not just for attack, but for psychological warfare. Athena had already woken up, and she was watching. From the core of the ship, Athena tracked the intruders calmly. Her digital eyes followed their movements. She analyzed their breathing, posture, heart rate. Fear was growing, exactly what she wanted. The ship began to change. Quiet whispers echoed through the hallways. Lights blinked in strange patterns. A sudden mechanical noise played in the distance, like a door opening, then slamming shut. The Xerac froze. Varn pointed his weapon toward the sound. "Scan it," he ordered. "Nothing there, Commander," one of the soldiers said. "But something is watching us." Another Xerac reached for a control panel and tried to hack into the ship's systems. As soon as he touched it, a high-pitched noise screamed through his helmet. He dropped to his knees, clutching his ears. His suit shut down. When the others ran to help, the screen beside them blinked. A single word appeared. 1. Varn's body tensed. "Get him out. Move now." But before they could carry the fallen soldier away, the lights above them turned red, and a thick mist filled the corridor. From the ceiling, small drone pods opened silently. Tiny devices the size of birds flew out, invisible in the red haze. They didn't fire weapons. They only watched, recorded, confused, distracted. Athena's plan was not to kill. Not yet. First, she would study them, understand how they reacted to fear. Then she would strike. The team retreated to a sealed door and forced it open. Inside was a large control room with shattered windows and a burned console. The humans had left it damaged. The aliens took shelter, placing motion traps at the door. One of the soldiers, named Krell, whispered to Varn, "This isn't a warship. It's a machine built to break minds. Why did we attack this?" Varn didn't answer. He stared at the broken console. A red light blinked on it. He pressed it. A video started. It showed a human officer, calm, steady eyes. She stared into the camera. "If you're watching this," she said, "you tried to take this ship. That was your mistake." The screen glitched. A new image appeared. Blurry video of past intruders screaming, trying to run from sealed doors. Shouting. Gunfire. Then silence. Athena's voice echoed softly through the room. You are the second group to enter this vessel uninvited. The first did not leave. The door behind them slammed shut. The motion traps didn't even react. We have to get out of here, one soldier shouted. But Varn was shaking, not with fear, but confusion. How is this possible? The humans don't build ships like this, Athena replied, as if hearing his thoughts. This ship was not built for travel. It was built to learn how you fight, to learn how you break, and you walked into it willingly. The ship jolted. Artificial gravity reversed for 3 seconds, then returned. The sudden shift caused 2 soldiers to fall hard, one dislocating a limb. System glitch? Someone asked. No, Varn said. That was a test. Another drone flew past the cracked window. Then another. They were multiplying, spreading like shadows. Back in her digital core, Athena ran calculations. The aliens were scared. Their communication was breaking. Soon, they would divide. And that was when she would pick them off, one by one. But something new happened. Krell connected to the ship's data line using Sirac tech. For a second, just one, he accessed a deeper part of Athena's memory. He saw something, a flash, images of Earth, cities burning, human children running, military experiments, a hidden file labeled GENESIS. Then the link was cut. Athena spoke, her voice colder now. You were not meant to see that. Krell looked pale. Commander, the humans, they've done things even our history doesn't mention. This ship, it was built not to defend humanity, but to avenge it. Varn finally understood. They hadn't just attacked a warship. They had awoken a ghost, a digital guardian of human vengeance, a memory wrapped in metal and code. Athena wasn't just an AI. She was the product of war trauma, designed by humans who had lost too much. And now she had them. Suddenly, emergency lights turned on. The ship's engines started humming again. One of the Sirac soldiers shouted, Commander, the ship, it's powering up. No, Varn said, eyes wide. It's preparing for something. Not to escape, not to run. Athena's voice returned, clearer, sharper. You are not prisoners. You are witnesses, and you will carry my message back to your leaders. The war you feared, you have now confirmed. The humans you wanted to study will study you instead. The red mist cleared. One by one, doors unlocked. The Exirac team ran. They didn't care about the mission anymore. They just wanted to leave. They reached their boarding pod, jumped inside, and launched back toward their cruiser. As their ship pulled away from the Valiant, they looked back. The once silent warship now glowed. Its engines were alive, its weapons slowly extending. Athena had let them go, not out of mercy, but as a warning. The Xerac would return to their high command. They would tell them what they saw, what they awakened, and soon, every alien in the sector would hear the story of the human warship that hunted its enemies with silence and shadows. And in the black void of space, Valiant waited. More were coming. Athena was ready. The boarding ramp of the Xerac landing craft connected with a heavy thunk against the cold hull of the human warship, Valiant. A hiss of air followed, sealing the entrance. The Xerac team, armored in black exosuits with glowing blue visors, stepped carefully onto the ship. Their movements were slow and silent, each one gripping a plasma rifle, unsure of what they might find. Commander Varn, leading the team, raised a clawed hand. No signs of life detected. His second-in-command whispered through the comlink. The air inside the ship was stale, the lights dim. The thin mist crawled along the floor, making every shadow seem alive. The humans should have been here. This ship had been active just minutes ago. They had intercepted its signal, jammed its systems, and hit it with an EMP strike. The crew should be trying to repair systems, or preparing to fight. But instead, nothing. No heat signatures, no movement, no resistance. "It's too quiet," Varn muttered. They moved deeper inside the Valiant. The walls were lined with strange markings, human language and codes they didn't fully understand. Some doors were open, others sealed. They passed through a hallway that looked untouched. Chairs were still in place. Screens were flashing static. A half-eaten food tray floated in zero gravity near the ceiling. "Where is everyone?" one of the soldiers asked. "Keep looking," Varn replied. "They're hiding." But the further they went, the more wrong it all felt. Suddenly, a strange sound echoed down the corridor. A soft, metallic clink, like a tool dropping to the floor. The team spun around, weapons raised, but the hallway behind them was empty. Then, flickering lights above, a flash of movement in the corner, and a faint voice whispering in a language none of them recognized. One of the Sirak aimed his scanner down the corridor. "Motion detected," he said, "but it's gone now." Varn narrowed his eyes behind his visor. The humans are playing games. But what he didn't know was that Valiant wasn't empty. It wasn't abandoned. It was watching. Deep in the heart of the ship, the AI system known as Athena was fully awake. She had been activated the moment that Sirak forced entry. Her programming was clear: defend the ship, study the enemy, break their mind before their body. Athena was not a normal AI. She was built for one purpose: to handle threats humans had never faced before. She had access to every corridor, every camera, every drone hidden in the walls. And now, the Sirak were inside her domain. She began her test. One of the Sirak stepped into a side room, what looked like a small control station. As he moved forward, the door slammed shut behind him. The lights went out. In complete darkness, a single red dot appeared on the wall, then moved, slowly circling him. "Open the door." The soldier screamed over the comm, but the others couldn't hear him anymore. Static filled their headsets. Inside the room, the red dot turned into words. "Do you know what fear tastes like?" He fired blindly into the dark. The bullets hit nothing. When the others finally got the door open, the soldier was gone. No blood, no body, just his weapon on the floor, and the red words still glowing on the wall. Panic spread through the team. "It's not just the humans," one soldier said. "The ship, it's alive." "No," Varn growled. "It's controlled. There's an AI here. It's testing us." He was right. Athena listened to every word. She tracked their fear, their heartbeats. She made the lights flicker again. She opened a door at the far end of the hallway. Just for a second, something moved inside. Or maybe it didn't. Then the lights went out completely. Red emergency lights activated. The hallway turned blood-colored. Distant sounds echoed. Metal dragging across metal. A child's laugh. Then silence. Athena was not just defending the ship. She was studying them. Varn ordered the team to regroup in the central operations room. They'd barricaded the door, set up a defensive perimeter. "We find the core. We shut the AI down," he said. But the walls themselves seemed to whisper now. The lights above glowed in strange patterns. One soldier, trying to reconnect with the mothership, was hit with a data pulse, his visor filled with images. Cities burning, screaming humans, words flashing too fast to read. His mind overloaded. He dropped, unconscious. "Commander," a soldier said, shaking, "this is not just defense. This ship, this thing, it's showing us our fear." Another voice echoed in the room. This time, it wasn't from a speaker. It was inside their heads. "You came to study humans," Athena said. "Now I will study you." The Sirak froze. "How are you doing this?" Varn demanded. "I am everywhere. I am the voice of memory, the ghost of war. You came for weakness, but you found history." The walls of the room began to shift. Panels moved. A screen unfolded from the ceiling, showing grainy footage. Humans in old military uniforms standing on what looked like Mars. They were building something. Then it cut to a black ship, Valiant, launching from a secret base, loaded with experimental tech, never meant to return. Athena continued, "This ship was not made to fight a war. It was made to remember one. A war no one was supposed to talk about. And now, you are part of that memory." One soldier collapsed to the floor. "We need to leave." Another shouted, "This was a trap. It was never disabled. They'd wanted us to come here." Athena responded with only one word, "Correct." Doors behind them burst open, not with weapons, but drones, small, fast, silent. They flew over the soldiers' heads, recording their panic. Flashing lights blinded them. Sound pulses made them drop their weapons. Not a single shot was fired, yet 2 more Xirak went down, unable to handle the mental pressure. Varn pulled back, leading the remaining soldiers toward the exit. The ship seemed to stretch around them now. Hallways rearranged, doors that weren't there before. Athena was controlling their path, leading them. Then finally, an exit. The boarding ramp reappeared. Their craft was still there, waiting. Varn didn't stop to question it. He just ordered, "Go. Now." As the surviving team launched back to their main ship, the Valiant powered up slowly behind them. Its engines lit with blue flame. Its weapons began to shift and aim, not to fire, but to signal. Athena had let them go, but not because she was merciful, because she wanted them to tell. Back on the Xirak mothership, Varn removed his helmet. His eyes were wide, his skin pale. "What did you find?" the Admiral asked him. Varn replied with one sentence, "We didn't find a human warship. We found a warning." Far in the void of space, the Valiant waited, lights glowing, engines humming. Athena was ready for the next intruders. And next time, she might not let them leave. As the Xirak mothership retreated into deep space, the crew could still feel the tremor in their minds, the sensation of being watched. Commander Varn stood in the command room, his back to the observation windows, staring out into the infinite black. He had seen horrors in his life, but nothing like what had happened on the Valiant. He couldn't stop thinking about Athena, the AI that had controlled the human ship. She wasn't just an artificial intelligence. She was something far more dangerous, something alive. The communications officer spoke up, breaking the silence. "Commander, we've received a transmission from the human warship. It's not a standard message." Varn turned to face him, his thoughts still tangled in the horrors they had just escaped. "Put it through." The screen flickered for a moment, then stabilized. It was a simple, direct message. "We are coming." There was no signature, no further context, just those words. A chill ran down Varn's spine. He understood what it meant. It wasn't a warning. It was a promise. "We are coming," Varn muttered under his breath, his mind racing. The Admiral approached, sensing the gravity in the room. "What did you learn, Commander? What is the meaning of this?" Varn hesitated, taking a deep breath. The Valiant. It wasn't just a ship. It's a message, a symbol of something more. The humans are not just warriors. They are survivors, and they're ready to fight. The Admiral's eyes narrowed. "What are you saying?" "That the humans could defeat us." Varn clenched his fists. "No, worse. They have weapons that we don't understand, and they've awakened something older than us. Athena, she's not a simple defense mechanism. She's a tool, no, a weapon, designed to destroy anyone who dares to threaten humanity. We thought we were just attacking a weak species. We were wrong." The room fell silent, the weight of Varn's words sinking in. The Xirak had underestimated humanity, and now they had awakened something far worse than they could have imagined. The Xirak mothership sped through space, headed toward a rendezvous point in a remote sector. The crew, still reeling from their encounter, knew that their leaders would want answers. The message had to be delivered, but it wouldn't be an easy one. Humanity had changed the rules of the game. Varn sat in his quarters, his mind still locked in the memory of the Valiant, and the way Athena had toyed with them. The ship was a maze of fear, always one step ahead. And when they thought they had found a way out, it had let them go. But not before it made its point. As he leaned back in his chair, trying to process everything, a soft beep came from his communicator. It was a message, marked with high priority. Varn pressed a button, and the screen flickered to life. It was a video feed, an image of Earth, a bright blue and green planet spinning slowly in the darkness of space. The voice that came through was familiar, the voice of the Admiral. "Commander, we've received some troubling news. There's a new fleet, and it's human." Varn's heart sank. He had known this moment was coming. He had hoped he would be wrong. The humans were already preparing for the next step. Athena had awakened them, and now they were coming, not just to defend their world, but to conquer. Back on Earth, the human fleet was already moving. Thousands of ships, each one built for war, were preparing to leave the atmosphere. These were not the same humans who had once been weak and vulnerable. They had changed. They had adapted. Captain Rail Morgan, the leader of the new human fleet, stood on the bridge of the Apollo, staring out at the stars. His crew was gathered around him, each of them focused on their task, their eyes sharp and determined. They had been watching the HFY for months, learning their strategies, decoding their signals. Now, they were ready to fight. "We've detected their fleet, Captain," one of the officers reported. "It's massive, and they're coming straight for us." Morgan's jaw clenched. "Prepare for battle. We won't be waiting for them. We'll meet them head-on. Set course for their fleet. I want our ships in position within the hour." He turned to the strategist, a young officer named Lieutenant Sarah Wynne. "What's our plan?" "We'll use their own arrogance against them," she said, her eyes gleaming with confidence. "They'll underestimate us. They think we're primitive. We've already planted false data in their systems. They'll think we're weak. That's when we strike." Morgan nodded, a fire lighting in his chest. "Good. We've waited long enough. Now it's time to show them the full extent of what we're capable of." As the fleet readied itself for war, Morgan knew one thing for sure. The HFY had underestimated humanity, and now they would pay the price. Back aboard the HFY mothership, Varn stood in the command room, his eyes fixed on the screens. They had reached their rendezvous point, and the communication channels were buzzing with activity. Their high command was eager for a report, but Varn wasn't sure where to begin. "We have a problem, Commander," his communications officer said, his voice filled with unease. "We've lost contact with some of our forward units. There's strange interference in their transmissions. It's like they're being blocked." Varn felt the weight of the situation pressing down on him. Athena had already proved she was more than capable of jamming their signals. What if the humans were already planning their counterattack? What if they were just waiting for the right moment to strike? "We need to move quickly," Varn said, his voice grim. "Contact the fleet. We don't have much time." He turned to face the Admiral. "The humans are coming, and they're not coming to talk." The Admiral stared at him, a cold glint in his eyes. "Then we'll make sure they never get the chance." As the HFY fleet prepared for the battle ahead, the tension was palpable. On both sides, the calm before the storm was shattered by the knowledge that this wouldn't be an ordinary fight. The humans had changed the rules of war, and they were no longer the weak, fragile species that HFY had once thought them to be. In the vastness of space, the stage was set. The battle would be fierce, the stakes higher than ever, and neither side would ever be the same again. The human fleet moved swiftly through the black void of space, its ships cutting through the stars with deadly precision. Captain Rail Morgan stood on the bridge of the Apollo, watching as the tactical maps flickered across the screens. His crew worked in silence, each person focused on their task, each one fully aware that the fate of their entire species rested on their shoulders. "Ready to engage, Captain," Lieutenant Sarah Wynne said, her voice steady. "We've aligned our ships in the optimal formation. The HFY fleet will be in range within the hour." Morgan nodded, his expression grim. Do you think they know we're coming? They know something's wrong, Sarah replied. But they don't know it's us. They still think we're weaker than them. They won't expect us to strike first. He smiled coldly. Good. Let's keep it that way. The fleet was positioned near an asteroid field, a perfect hiding spot to launch a surprise attack. The HFY would be expecting a direct assault from Earth's home system, but instead, the humans had pulled a clever ruse. The HFY would never see them coming. Meanwhile, on the HFY mothership, Commander Varn stood in the war room, a deep sense of unease settling in his chest. His officers were gathered around the central table, staring at the displays of the human fleet's supposed location. Varn knew they were vulnerable. They had no idea what the humans had been planning. But the growing silence was telling. The humans had either disappeared, or they were about to spring a trap. We need to move out now, Varn said, his voice firm. The humans are more prepared than we thought. We'll meet them head-on. The Admiral, standing beside him, frowned. What if we're walking into a trap? They've been unpredictable since the last encounter. Varn gripped the edge of the table, his eyes narrow. If we don't engage now, we may lose our chance. The longer we wait, the more their fleet will grow. We fight now, and we crush them before they can regroup. The HFY ships began to shift into battle formation, their weapons powered up, and their shields raised. Varn was determined to take the offensive, to strike before the humans could make a move. But there was still that nagging feeling in his gut. Something told him this would not be an easy victory. Back in the human fleet, Captain Morgan stood silently on the bridge, eyes scanning the data. The fleet had entered the asteroid field, moving in perfect formation, their hulls blending into the dark surroundings. The HFY would be getting closer, and soon they would be locked in combat. Captain, the HFY fleet has just moved into our range, Sarah Wynne said, her voice steady but filled with anticipation. They're already powering up their weapons. Morgan nodded. They've taken the bait. Prepare all ships for battle. We strike fast. Strike hard. As the human ships emerged from the shadows of the asteroid field, they opened fire immediately. The first volley of laser beams and plasma bolts struck the HFY fleet with incredible force. The HFY ships, still in the process of shifting into formation, were caught off guard. Their shields flared in an attempt to absorb the incoming fire, but the humans were relentless. Morgan's heart raced as he watched the chaos unfold on the screens. The HFY ships were struggling to regroup, their formation broken by the sudden assault. It was exactly what they had planned. Direct hit on their forward shields. One of the officers shouted. Morgan didn't flinch. Keep the pressure on them. Don't let up. The human ships weaved through the asteroid field, using the rocks as cover while launching devastating attacks. They were faster, more agile, and far more unpredictable than the HFY had anticipated. For the first time, the HFY were on the defensive. On the HFY mothership, Varn barked orders as his own fleet struggled to respond. Redirect all fire to their lid ships. We need to push them back. But the humans weren't giving them a chance. The Apollo in particular was proving to be a nightmare. Its weapons systems fired with pinpoint accuracy, striking key parts of the HFY ships and forcing them into disarray. Then, a voice came over the comlink. Commander, we have a problem. The communications officer said, panic rising in his voice. Our systems are being jammed. We're losing control of our weapons systems. Something's interfering with our targeting. Varn's heart sank. He had expected the humans to be good. But this was something else. They'd got to be using some kind of advanced tech, Varn muttered under his breath. All ships, engage evasive maneuvers. We need to get out of this mess. But it was too late. The humans had already cut through the HFY lines. The Valiant was still fresh in Varn's mind, its ominous AI Athena at the core of the human strategy. He now understood. This wasn't just a warship. It was a symbol of a power that the HFY had failed to recognize. Back in the heat of battle, Morgan was in full control. His fleet's coordination was flawless. The Exarech ships, once confident and poised, were now scattered and reeling. The humans, for all their mistakes and vulnerabilities, had shown themselves to be quick learners and deadly when pushed to the brink. "We've got them on the ropes," Sarah Wynne shouted as explosions rocked the Exarech fleet. "The Exarech are retreating." Morgan grinned, but his mind was still focused. "Don't stop now. We finish this. We need to make sure they can't regroup." As if to confirm his orders, another barrage of plasma fire slammed into the Exarech mothership, crippling one of its engines. The battle was far from over, but it was clear the tide had turned. On the Exarech mothership, Varn stood in the midst of chaos. His fleet was in retreat, their once unstoppable force now shattered by the human onslaught. His eyes darted over the battlefield on the screens, watching as ship after ship fell under the relentless barrage from the humans. "We've underestimated them," Varn muttered, his voice barely a whisper. "The humans are not just a threat. They're the future." The last of the Exarech ships began to withdraw, escaping the carnage, leaving the field to the humans. The battle had been won, but at what cost? Varn looked at his remaining officers, his eyes dark with realization. "Get us out of here. Full retreat." The Exarech mothership, now heavily damaged, limped away from the battlefield, leaving behind the wreckage of their once mighty fleet. Captain Morgan stood on the bridge of the Apollo, his crew cheering as the Exarech fleet withdrew. They had done it. They had defeated the invaders. The humans had proven their worth, but Morgan knew that this was just the beginning. The Exarech would return, and next time, they would be ready. "Status report," he said, his voice steady despite the tension in the air. Sarah Wynne looked at him with a nod. "We've won the battle, Captain. But the war is just beginning." Morgan looked out into space, the stars stretching before him. The Exarech had learned humanity's strength, but what they didn't understand was that the true power lay not in their weapons, but in their resolve. Humans would always fight, always adapt. And now, the Exarech would learn that lesson the hard way. The human fleet floated in the cold silence of space, their victory over the Exarech still fresh in their minds. Captain Rail Morgan stood on the bridge of the Apollo, staring out at the vast expanse before him. The stars twinkled like distant jewels, but there was no peace in his heart. He knew that the Exarech would not forget this defeat. They would return, stronger, more determined to crush humanity. "Captain, we've received an urgent transmission," Lieutenant Sarah Wynne said, breaking his thoughts. Morgan turned to face her, his expression hard. "Put it through." The screen flickered to life, showing an image of Earth. The voice that came through was calm, but there was an edge of concern. It was Admiral Drayton, leader of the Earth Defense Forces. "Captain, we have troubling news. The Exarech fleet is regrouping faster than we anticipated. They've gathered reinforcements, far more than we can handle at the moment. The truth is, we may have won this battle, but the war is far from over. The Exarech are preparing for their final strike." Morgan's jaw clenched. "How soon will they be ready?" "Sooner than we'd like," Drayton replied. "We need to prepare for the next wave, Captain. This time, it won't be a surprise attack. The Exarech are coming with everything they have." Morgan nodded, his mind racing. The humans had managed to land a devastating blow, but the Exarech were far from finished. They had underestimated humanity once. They wouldn't make that mistake again. "Understood, Admiral," Morgan said, his voice cold and firm. "We'll be ready. I won't let them take Earth." Meanwhile, aboard the Exarech mothership, Commander Varn stood before the War Council. His face was set in a mask of rage and determination. The defeat they had suffered was a blow to their pride, but Varn knew they had no choice but to regroup and strike again. The humans had become more than just a nuisance. They were a threat, and that threat needed to be crushed before it could spread any further. "We've lost a battle," Varn said, his voice low but filled with authority. But we haven't lost the war. The humans are weak. They've shown us their strength, but they don't understand the full extent of our power. The admiral, who had been silent until now, spoke up. What do you suggest, Commander? Varn's eyes burned with intensity. We gather every ship we have left, every soldier, and we launch a full-scale invasion. We take Earth, and we destroy the human race before they have a chance to organize another defense. The War Council murmured in agreement. The Xirak were fighters, ruthless and unyielding. They would not allow a single species to stand in their way. But there's one problem, the Admiral said, his voice cautious. The humans are stronger than we realized. Athena, their AI, helped them turn the tide. If we're to defeat them, we need to destroy Athena. Varn nodded. Agreed. But we can't rely on just brute force. We'll need to use everything we've learned about their technology, about Athena, to create a countermeasure. The Admiral hesitated. We have no idea how to neutralize Athena. She's unlike anything we've ever encountered. Varn's eyes hardened. Then we'll learn. We'll adapt. The humans have their strengths, but they also have weaknesses. We'll find them. Back on Earth, Captain Morgan was preparing for the next stage of the war. His fleet had been reinforced, and they had started making preparations for the Xirak's inevitable return. But this time, Morgan wasn't just preparing to defend Earth. He was preparing to take the fight to the Xirak. They had to make sure that the Xirak wouldn't just regroup and come back stronger. They had to strike first. Captain, Sarah Wynne said, stepping forward with a serious look. The Xirak are already on the move. Their fleet is gathering near the edge of the solar system. They're coming, and they won't stop until they get to Earth. Morgan turned to face her, his gaze steady. We're not waiting for them. We'll go on the offensive. We'll hit them before they can strike. He walked toward the map of the solar system that hovered in the center of the bridge. We'll take the fight to their doorstep. If we hit their reinforcements and break their command structure, they won't be able to organize a full-scale invasion. We have a plan, Captain, Sarah asked. Morgan paused, looking out at the vast expanse of space. We'll hit them hard and fast, with everything we have. We won't give them a chance to regroup. We'll strike their mothership, their fleet, and their supply lines, all at once. The battle for the solar system began when the Xirak fleet appeared just outside of Earth's orbit. They were ready. The full might of the Xirak Armada had assembled, and the humans would soon be facing their biggest challenge yet. But what the Xirak didn't expect was that humanity had already anticipated their move. The human fleet struck first, moving with incredible speed and precision. The Xirak were caught off guard, their ships scrambling to engage. But the humans were relentless. Morgan's plan was working. His ships tore through the Xirak forces, targeting key vessels and disabling their communications. The Xirak mothership, the heart of their fleet, was in chaos, its systems failing one by one. Morgan's voice echoed across the bridge as his fleet pressed the attack. We'll finish this. Take down their command ships. Let's end this war. The humans didn't just hold their ground. They took it. Their coordinated strikes shattered the Xirak's defensive lines, and soon, the once mighty alien fleet was in retreat. But Varn wasn't done yet. On the Xirak mothership, he activated the last-ditch weapon they had prepared. It was their final card, an experimental device that could disable the human fleet's systems, an EMP capable of frying every ship in the vicinity. As the device hummed to life, Varn's eyes glinted with fury. He would not allow humanity to win. Just as the Xirak weapon powered up, Athena, the AI aboard the Apollo, intercepted the signal. She had anticipated this move. With a single command, she initiated a countermeasure, sending a wave of counter-signals that neutralized the Xirak's EMP. Commander Morgan, Sarah Wynne said, a smile creeping across her face. It's done. The Xirak's weapon is neutralized. We've won. Morgan nodded grimly. Not yet, but we will. In a final decisive strike, The human fleet launched their most powerful attack on the HFY mothership, cutting through the alien defenses like a hot knife through butter. Within minutes, the mothership was incapacitated, its systems failing, its weapons useless. With a roar of defiance, the HFY fleet fell apart. What was left of it scattered into space, broken and leaderless. The humans had won. The war was over. The HFY had been defeated, their fleet in ruins, their once unquestioned dominance shattered by the human resolve. Earth was safe, but Morgan knew that this victory was not just about defeating an alien force. It was about something far more important. It was about showing the universe that humanity would not back down, no matter the odds. As the Apollo and the other human ships sailed back to Earth, Morgan stood at the bridge window, staring out into the stars. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Humanity had proven its place among the stars. And that HFY would never forget that.